Hello everybody, and welcome back to another video and to another tier list here on the channel. Last week we started a new series of tier lists celebrating the 20th anniversary of Cars and the Cars Diecast line by ranking every variant of specific characters. Last week I did a video ranking every dock, and this week we'll be covering another absolute icon of racing, the King Strip Weathers. He has 13 variants in total, which is actually fewer than I thought. I could have sworn he had a couple more, but still, it's going to be really fun to take a look at all the different versions of the King. I've also put them in chronological order here. Now, the King is a character that I genuinely really like. For those of you who know me, you know that one of my all-time favorite Cars characters is Cal Weathers, so I'm certainly partial to some of the Dynaco racers, and the King just has such a great and iconic design, and he's got a lot of different interesting diecasts from over the years. Something interesting about him is that there really aren't variants of him that change the paint job. As you can see, all of them use the same design, which is definitely different from Doc, but they all have different attributes. Some have gimmicks, some are him but Lando Calrissian, so it's going to be pretty interesting to see how I end up ranking all the versions of him. So, without further ado, let's get started. Oh, I do want to say thank you all for voting. This was actually the winner of a poll that I put up yesterday, asking you guys who you wanted to see next, the King or Chick Hicks. The King won by a pretty large margin. I'm not sure when I'll get around to Chick Hicks. Maybe he'll be the next episode. Maybe we'll cover him a bit later. But, yeah, the King won. Fits pretty thematically well with Doc. They're both sort of legendary racers, right? Let's get started with the King's normal variant here. This is actually an image of the Thailand variant. The King is one of the diecasts where I own both the Thailand and China version intentionally. This is one where I went out of my way to get the Thailand variant because I just really like how it looks. It's very glossy and just looks so clean. But obviously, for the purpose of this segment, we're ranking just the normal King, not talking specifics of different country variants, just the regular diecast of the King in general. And it's a pretty solid one. It's a very good representation of the character. I think that the sculpt is very solid. I think all the detail looks good, very accurate to the movie. I think the most standout thing about the King's diecast is his facial expression. He's looking off to the side. I believe he was the first ever diecast to be looking off to the side. I'm not sure why they did that. For him in particular. In fact, to this day, it's pretty uncommon to see, although maybe they were basing it off of the King's early promo art, where he kind of looks like he's looking off to the side. I think that would probably make sense if you look at the King's like typical artwork. His eyes are kind of looking off in the direction that they are on the diecast here. When it comes to these regular variants, it's difficult to rank them. I think I put regular Doc in B tier, right? It's just kind of difficult to rank the normal variants of these items. I always want to put them in the middle, just because, you know, it's sort of the baseline, basic variant. Not too much to say. Yeah, when I covered Doc last week, I believe, yeah, I'm checking right now, sorry, I put him in B tier. So I think regular the King going in B tier is just fine. Up next, we didn't have a variant of the King until a couple years later. In 2009, we received Damaged the King, and this is an absolutely incredible item. It was a very rare item for many years until it recently got re-released just a couple years back. Damaged the King is really just so good for a 2009 diecast. When this came out, I think easily one of the best Cars diecasts ever made. It's so well detailed, it's so well sculpted, it has matte paint, which helps add to the fact that it's this wrecked version of the King who, you know, tumbled through all this dirt on the infield. He has a lot of great sort of grassy detailing, a really good expression that matches the scene where McQueen pushes him to the finish line very well, and one of my favorite details has always been the fact that he has this crooked, broken spoiler, which is just so cool for them to change the sculpt of his spoiler. That's the only time they've ever given the King a different spoiler. I'm honestly struggling with where to put this guy. Honestly, I want to put it in S tier. I don't know if I should, but honestly, I think I'm gonna. This is a really, really good item, and it's gonna be hard to beat. It's so screen accurate, all the denting, everything with that sculpt. It's really, really a well-made item, perfect representation of the character on screen. So now we move into the lenticulars of the king, and there's really not all that much to say about them. The 2009 lenticular of the king, which is just the eyes open and closed version. I'm not a fan of any of the open and closed lenticulars. You could always just fully see their eyes. It just looks like there's a blue screen and then the king's eyes on the other side. Not much to say. The lenticular version 2, I don't think is as bad. This one has the king's eyes go from left to right. The thing that I like is that they took the fact that the king's eyes are usually looking off to the side on his diecast, and they decided, hey, the other lenticular face will have it look the other way. And I can't decide if I like that or not, because part of me is like, oh, it's kind of cool that they were like, yeah, the king looks off to the side, so let's have lenticular look both ways. But the other part of me is like, why not just give him two new facial expressions instead of a lenticular version of the face he already had and then just the opposite? So I'm going to go D tier for that. Damaged the king. Lenticular damaged the king. This one bothers me. I know I was just talking about how great Damage the King is and how great that mold is, and yeah, this keeps that up. Obviously, it uses the same sculpt just with lenticular eyes instead of his regular eye expression, but something about this, of all items, being lenticular really just does not work in my opinion. This is this super wrecked, dirty, dented version of the king, and that very specific look with the matte wash and all the denting really just doesn't work in my opinion when you give him lenticular eyes. The lenticular screen eye look, typically when I complained about lenticulars, the problem was that you could see both eye expressions at all times. I don't really typically complain about the lenticular eyes looking like a screen or anything. Here, I think it just doesn't match with the rest of the item in this really glaring and awkward way. And I'm going to throw it in D tier. Low D tier. For those of you who don't know, I don't usually do this on my tier lists, but in this series, I am ranking them from worst to best in each tier. So best of the tier is up here. I'm going to rank it below Regular the King, Lenticular. I don't think it deserves F tier because it does have such an incredible mold. So yeah, low D tier. Okay, Metallic the King. This one is really difficult. This is the one I've been thinking about most since I saw the King win the poll. I have been trying to figure out what to do. Because I absolutely adore this item. This looks absolutely beautiful. This was one of the first specific metallic variants of a car we got in the Diecast line in 2010 as a chase release. I mean, look at that. Yes, the blue isn't super accurate. It's this metallic dark blue. Maybe they should have done a metallic light blue, but I really don't care. It's this very unique, very special looking, just insanely cool metallic blue the King. But it's a lenticular. And I just don't get why every other metallic chase this year was a fixed eye variant. Daryl Cartrip, Hydraulic Ramon, DJ, and for whatever reason, they decided to still have this one be a lenticular. And yeah, it's just a really strange choice, honestly, and it definitely does take away from the item. I was a little concerned. I'm concerned about the eyebrows for this guy. Because if this were a regular item, then it could all be one solid metallic color. But since it's a lenticular, of course, you have the eyelids as a different color, and they're not going to be metallic because they're just part of the sort of screen. I'm looking up an additional picture of this guy right now, and I mean, they do a pretty good job at matching the color, honestly. So it's not too bad. It definitely could be a lot worse. Um, but the other thing that could have been a lot worse was the spoiler. With characters like the King who have a plastic insert spoiler, they tend to not make that metallic on other variants. Or we'll see that with the color changer later. They didn't make it have the ability to change color. It's made of a different material. It's made of plastic. But here, they did make the spoiler metallic. Something that they've skipped on a lot of other metallic and silver releases over the years. Honestly, despite this being a lenticular, they did everything that you'd think they would mess up on really well. They made the spoiler still be metallic. They made the eyelid color a bit darker to match the metallic blue. The only drawback is this is a lenticular, but it's going to go in A tier. This would be an S tier if it were not lenticular. This would be, honestly, my number one pick for the best the King if it were not a lenticular. You know what? I'm kind of debating moving it to the bottom of S tier. Honestly, yeah, we'll move it to low S tier. This would be, I just want to clarify, this would be number one if it weren't lenticular. But I still think it looks pretty good. This is Rubber Tires, the King. We go from an item I had a lot to say about to something I have literally nothing to say about. It's just regular the King, but with rubber tires. I'm going to put it in B tier right ahead of regular the King. That's it. Stunt Racers the King. Now we're into 2013 in the post-Cars 2 era. Here we got a couple of plastic gimmick the Kings coming up. I'm sorry, I couldn't find a good image of this out of box. This is from a YouTube thumbnail, hence the Play-Doh logo in the corner. It's just from a kid channel. I think it was just called like Disney Car Reviews or Disney Toy Reviews. So shout out you guys. This is your thumbnail. Subscribe. I'm sure they have wonderful Finger Family content. I'm sorry. Okay, so we have Stunt Racers of the King. This is a line that had sort of pullback action, rubber back wheels, and could do different stunts. I actually typically quite like a lot of these plastic gimmick lines, and Stunt Racers were genuinely very fun. It was really nice to see this line included a combination of Cars and Cars 2 releases. The mold itself looks pretty solid and pretty close to the King's regular diecast. It's not one I'm strongly passionate about. It's not one that I'm strongly against, so it's going to go in B tier in the middle of the list. Alright, we got Lando Calrissian. This is the King from the Star Wars line. And, Lando is a character known for being very well dressed, right? Lando has some of the best outfits in the Star Wars series. On paper, you may see Lando and the King and be like, kind of a weird character matchup, but I think it works pretty well. Both of them are famously very, very suave, and Lando also wears blue, and the King is blue. This guy came out in a 3-pack alongside the hilarious Carbonite Han Ramon, and just a Bespin Guard Pity, and honestly, hate to say it, but for a character that's so suave and well-dressed, this has always been one of my least favorite Star Wars Cars diecasts. Looking at this just doesn't scream Lando to me. I think it's missing two of the most important parts of Lando's character design. The first is his cape. Lando has this blue cape with this very ornate orange inside. When we're dealing with Episode 5 Lando, which is what this is based on. And, it's become such an iconic part of Lando's character. Whenever we see him, he has a different cape. In the movie Solo, we learn that he has an entire room in the Millennium Falcon that is just a cape closet. The capes are iconic to Lando, and there's very little here resembling his cape. There's some orange highlights on the King, on his sides, around his eyes. That's probably supposed to resemble the sort of orange of the cape. But how cool would it have been if they incorporated that ornate orange design on the King somewhere, maybe on the back half of him? I'm not saying slap a cape onto the car. I mean, they did that for Mater, actually, so maybe you could. But I'm saying showcase that very unique design on the inside of his cape, on the sides of the car. because it just looks like the king in a darker blue with sort of the front of Lando's outfit printed on his hood. Lando also has just a great famous mustache. Another very iconic part of the character design. They actually gave the king as Lando hair, which is fun and funny to see. And they did that on a couple of the Star Wars characters. They just painted the roof black to look like his hair, but to not paint the mustache on his hood, like, come on, guys. What are we doing here? You give him the mustache, man. So I don't know. This falls short to me of being a good representation of Lando. And for a toy line that typically does such a great job at capturing the characters, this is pretty underwhelming. It's okay. It's all right. I'm gonna throw it in C tier. It's fine. Looks enough like Lando, but they certainly could have done a bit more. Up next, we have Hydro Wheels. Something I've talked about a lot is that Hydro Wheels is one of my favorite toy lines ever. Not just cars, it's just one of my favorite toy lines. I love this line so much. These plastic cars that drive on water, they are so fun. They're very well made, well designed, and I love how expansive the line was. This is a personal favorite of mine. I loved these as a kid. I love them now. As far as a plastic gimmick line goes, I think they're top notch. They're incredibly clever, and I'm gonna rank this Hydro Wheels King pretty high up. I think he's gonna go high B tier. I think he's gonna go. There we go, high B tier. I was gonna put him in A tier, just because again, this is a line that I really love. This captures the King's design perfectly, and he's just on the bigger base that allows him to run in the water. But I think A tier is too high. I just don't see him a tier, just one tier below Damage the King and Metallic the King. But yeah, just a fair warning for future episodes. I just really like the Hydro Wheels. I should just do a whole video about my deep, undying love for the Hydro Wheels line. Alright, up next we have Wheel Action Drivers the King. This is one, I think this is easily the most obscure the King variant. The later days of the Wheel Action Drivers line are very poorly documented. Okay, there's a second wave of them that I cannot find any evidence of them actually existing. Okay, when I was doing Diecast history on McQueen, I had to talk about the Cruisin' McQueen from this line, and I could not find any information on whether it was released or canceled. You could see ads for it on the back of the packaging of some of the other later items, but yeah, this whole second wave that included a Fillmore, a Chick Hicks, a Snot Rod, it's crazy. I can't find any information on whether or not they actually came out. But this 3-pack with McQueen, the King, and Chick Hicks did successfully make it onto store shelves as one of the final items in the line. And with the King, they introduced a very unique gimmick. For those of you who don't know, Wheel Action Drivers was a line where when you pressed back on the car's back wheels, when you pressed down on them, the front wheels would pop out and a different play feature would activate. A lot of characters had opening mouths, like Chick Hicks. McQueen's tongue stuck out. Mater's engine wobbled. Ramon's front hydraulics raised up. And the King introduced a very unique gimmick of the character's eyes moving. And I always thought that was so fascinating and so cool. I saw it at Toys R Us all the time, right before they closed. I never picked up this pack, but it was one that I always wanted, just because I was so fascinated with the concept of you press the wheels and the eyes move. You can see they're sort of recessed back there. He has plastic eyebrows and plastic eyes underneath them. I've always wanted to know how this works. I have never, ever, ever seen video of it. That is how obscure this item is. So I don't know where to rank it. If it works, honestly, A tier, okay? If it works well, this concept of doing a moving iCar without the ugliness of the lenticulars, this interesting multi-layered plastic approach. If it doesn't work, C tier. I don't know where to put it. Well, I guess if it doesn't work, then it should be an F tier. But I think I will put it in C tier as is. Again, I'm sorry, I don't know if this item works well, but in concept, just looking at it, I'm going to throw it in C tier. Alright, 2020 Silver Collection, The King. This is a really, really good one. Silver the King, part of a line of silver cars that they did this year. He's just such a good-looking item. Easily one of my favorites in the Silver Collection, which is saying something because I absolutely adore the Silver Collection. The World Grand Prix cars they did in it were pretty weak. But the Silver the King and Chick Hicks and Cruz and Jackson Storm, not Tim Treadless, why was he there? All impeccable, okay? You can't pack them. They cannot be packed, guys. Impeccable. This is like, I mean, the King is just such a cool character, so to do any sort of metallic special edition of him, it's gonna work, and it's gonna look great. The silver color they used for these, that's sort of reflective, it's just so good. It makes him look so slick. It's a sort of sterling silver design. He has blue wheels, which I could see people not liking. They did this thing for the Silver Collection where they made the car silver and then their wheels be a color that sort of matches the color that the car usually is. In the case of the King, I really don't mind it. And I'm also very, very happy to say that yes, they remembered to make his spoiler silver. This is one classy item, one very cool special edition item, and it's a metallic the King that's not lenticular. This is easily my favorite version of the King. Maybe you put the race damage one ahead of him, but my personal favorite has to be this. From my personal favorite, we go to one of my all-time, well, I wouldn't say least favorites, but I'd say it's probably pretty close. This is Color Changers the King. I don't think he's bad per se. One thing I really like about him is that he's like one of the only 155 scale King diecasts ever to not be looking off to the side. He's looking straight forward. It looks a little cursed, but I'm just really happy that they made a version of the King that was looking forward. He changes from light blue to a darker blue. Mine's been in the darker blue color for many, many years now, and again, it's perfectly fine. But the spoiler doesn't change color. And it is so distracting. It's fine when the King is in his typical light blue color, but when you change the color of the King, that spoiler stays light blue, and it just looks so bad. I understand, okay, that the spoilers on these items with separately attached spoilers are different materials. It's just really, really frustrating that they can't have them also change colors, and it really makes items like this look a whole lot weaker. This is one of my least favorites. I'm sorry. It's going in D tier. But there we have it, guys. This is my full tier list for the King. I'm so sorry about this ad that's been here. That's the problem with Tier Maker. Okay. Just a huge ad that, unfortunately, is just stuck hovering over the screen. But regardless of that, let's take a look at our final list. In F tier, we have the Lenticular the King version 1. In D tier, again, these are worst to best, we have Color Changers the King, Lenticular Damage the King, Lenticular the King version 2. In C tier, the King as Lando Calrissian and Wheel Action Drivers the King. In B tier, Stunt Racers, Regular the King, Rubber Tires the King, and Hydro Wheels. And then in A tier, we have nothing, which is interesting. Then in S tier, Metallic the King, Damage the King, and Silver the King. So yeah, I gotta say, honestly, I was a lot more negative in this video than I thought I was going to be. I thought there were going to be a lot more King diecasts that I really strongly liked. But I guess when basically half the list is made up of just plastic gimmick ones that aren't too interesting and lenticulars, there really isn't all that much to say. Regardless, I still think that the King is all around a very, very cool character design-wise. And yeah, I mean, I really like his diecasts in general, especially these three up here. I hope someday soon we can see some more versions of him, because there are some very cool special edition diecasts they could do based on this character. Anyway, guys, thank you all so much for watching this video. Let me know what you think about my thoughts in the comments, and let me know which of the King's diecasts are your favorites and least favorites, and also let me know what character you want to see me cover in this series next. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye now.